Ring Magazine rates Errol the Truth Spence Jr. #1 at welterweight, followed by Terence Crawford in at #2. And I want to talk about it. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash App, and the Patreon family. We working. Ring Magazine. Actually, before I start, ESPN Plus, Conor McGregor getting ready to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov. For the first time since the Khabib Nurmagomedov, he's fighting Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Should be a good comeback fight. Conor McGregor looks to be in shape, training hard, and Cowboy's a warrior. Sign up using my link in the description of all my videos. PBC on Fox posted this, but this came directly from Ring Magazine. And Ring Magazine rated, and PBC made this graphic, so I decided to use this for a reference point. But the ratings came out, the newest ratings for the top 5 welterweights. And this is what Ring Magazine has to say. In at #1, they have Errol Spence, Terence Crawford in at #2, Manny Pacquiao in at #3, Keith Thurman in at #4, and Shawn Porter in at #5. Now, I give credit where credit's due. I think this is actually a really solid list and solid order, everything. You know, I really like it. And I don't always agree with Ring. They're owned by Golden Boy. And, you know, there's sometimes propaganda and stuff I really think is far-fetched, and I think they're doing it for a certain reason. And there's inherent biases, like having Tyson Fury ahead of Deontay Wilder, and he didn't get the belt. He didn't get the WBC belt. Even if you allegedly think that he won, it was a close fight. He didn't win. The judges scored it a draw, and Tyson Fury got knocked out. So, you know, you can't rewrite your own history in a fight like that. That was definitely close. So Ring Magazine doesn't always get it right, but this is a very solid list, and I want to talk about it on my channel. They have Errol Spence #1. I think that's solid. You know, most people in boxing have Terence Crawford 1A, 1B, you know, with Errol Spence. So I think that's how most people perceive it. Those are the 2 best and hardest to beat at welterweight. Manny Pacquiao in at #3. He just beat Keith Thurman, who was undefeated. And Pacquiao has had 71 fights, something like that, 70 plus fights. So he's a legend, Hall of Famer, you know, fought the best, fought great names, fought some of the best multiple times, etc. So with his win over Broner last year, and then obviously beating Keith Thurman, who is a top welterweight, that's deserving. And then in at #4, Keith Thurman. You know, a lot of people sleep on this. I was at the fight. I think Keith Thurman did a lot better than people think. He started off winning round 1, but Pacquiao, he's just a whirlwind. So you make the wrong move and 0 to 60, bop, bop. You know, and that's what happened. And he fell straight back, and then he was off to a rocky start. Keith Thurman was leaking, but it was what Keith Thurman did after that point where he was leaking. Make sure you guys smash the like button. He was leaking, and he was very resilient, very durable. Enough people don't give him credit. Even when he got clipped in one of the later rounds, he got hurt to the body really bad, and, you know, he ate that. So Keith Thurman is a lot more durable than people give him credit for. He didn't do like what Julio Cesar Chavez just did. And, you know, when the going got tough, bail out. He stayed in there, and he actually started winning the later rounds. And he's only been beaten once, and he's beaten Shawn Porter and Danny Garcia. So I think that's a solid pick. And then in at #5, Shawn Porter. Faced the best, beat Broner, beat Paulie Malignaggi brutally, beat Berto by stoppage in an eliminator, beat Adrian Granados in an eliminator, fought Danny Garcia, beat him for the WBC title, fought Keith Thurman, and they were booing Keith Thurman at the end of the fight, thinking Shawn Porter won at the Barclays Center. It was a close fight. I personally had Keith Thurman winning that one, but, you know, it was very tug-of-war-ish. And then he gave, speaking of tug-of-war, he gave Errol Spence, who's #1 on the list, that same type of fight. And, you know, the big difference maker was probably Errol Spence getting a late knockdown. So Sean Porter, definitely a game bred dog, and I think he deserves to be there. You know, in runner up for me, this, I don't know if they have like a top 10 list or whatever. I just heard and seen the top 5, but obviously number 6 would be Danny Garcia. Definitely Danny Garcia. Only lost to Keith Thurman and Sean Porter, who are in the top 5. Now, I have to talk about this. Looking at this Ring magazine, which is owned by Golden Boy and has nothing to do with PBC per se. It's not like a Showtime magazine or Fox magazine or owned by Al Heyman. This is owned by Golden Boy. And this goes to show you how much control Al Heyman has in this particular division, because you look at somebody else, you know, who's completely independent to Al Heyman, and they have the welterweight picture and giving you a snapshot of their picks, which is, in my opinion, I don't always agree with their list, but with this particular list, I think they did a good job. And their top 5, 4 of them, 4 are all PBC guys. And then I told you if there was a 6th person, it has to be Danny Garcia, based on what he's accomplished, who he's fought, who he's beat. So realistically, you know, if you're going to add that 6, 5 of 6 top welterweights are all with the same advisor and same organization, Premier Boxing Champions. And the only odd man out is Terence Crawford, which leads me into, you know, this is what's going on. Terence Crawford's buddy ranted, and that kind of started things off. Then Terence Crawford went on, you know, a Twitter rampage, and he was saying his piece and saying, you know, when is Errol going to fight him? And it looks like he's growing frustrated with the inability to land one of the big names. And, you know, he's kind of suggesting that people are running. And this is what people warned Crawford about in re-signing with Top Rank. I don't know the logistics of his deal, but it's his personal decision. He stayed with Top Rank. And it looks to me, I mean, just look at the welterweight picture. All the great fights are with Al Heyman. So they're going to have to try to have Crawford, who's Tom Hanks in Castaway, Will Smith in I Am Legend. You know, he's on no man's land with no other rivals and contemporaries in the 147 division that make sense, that make big business for him on Top Rank, unless he somehow is able to, you know, create a scenario where he fights. So I don't know who Terence Crawford is going to fight next at all. You know, if it's an Al Heyman dude, that's obviously going to be the best bet. He beat Mean Machine at his own game, and that was the only other guy that they were kind of building up. Didn't really do, you know, a huge job of making him look like the guy to beat Terence Crawford. There was nothing like that. Even though, although he did do very good for himself versus Crawford, even hurt Crawford and dropped him, but he didn't get credit for it. They said it was a slip. Either way, Crawford made adjustments. Crawford's like the king of the mid-fight adjustments. And then he ended up beating the brakes off of Mean Machine by the fight's end. So, you know, tough business. And I have no idea who Crawford's going to fight if Al Heyman has plans with his other welterweights. Because, again, you look at the Ring magazine's top 5. You look at my top 6, which is actually very similar to the Ring list for once. And Crawford is the only person not with Al Heyman that makes sense. So, you know, we'll have to see. People keep suggesting Wilder Fury, you know, it's doable. The cross mingling of fighters and, you know, 2 different networks. But these are 2 different scenarios, because Wilder Fury, as I keep saying, was established before ESPN and Top Rank were even involved with Tyson Fury. They already had one successful fight on Showtime and with Frank Warren and BT Sports. So Crawford and Spence, it's not necessarily going to be the easiest negotiations. Spence just got out of the car accident. We had to see how he feels when he starts sparring. And so it's just too much going on. And Danny already has his own fight. Sean Porter is a great candidate for a Crawford fight, but Crawford's saying they're friends. Sean Porter says, I have to talk to Crawford, etc. And Crawford has kind of dismissed the idea and the notion of fighting Sean Porter. He's minimized it, said, I'm not really worried about him. We got other things to handle. You know, Crawford's buddy said Sean Porter's just decent and give us someone else. So I don't know. But Ring Magazine did a great job with their top 5. I agree with their top 5. I think it's a solid order. You can't overlook Pacquiao for what he did last year, Broner and Keith Thurman. And see, this is the thing. When Pacquiao was with Top Rank himself, he never fought Crawford, which I've frequently brought up for several years now. They never fed Pacquiao to Crawford to see if he could beat him, you know, even though Teofimo's over there with Top Rank and he's about to get Lomachenko, which is his Pacquiao. You know, that's his person that if he should win that fight, that's going to take and catapult his career to the next level. Crawford doesn't have that. You know, he doesn't have that Gemini man contemporary. They're all with Al Heyman and PBC. And this is what people, like I said, warned Crawford about. But when Pacquiao was with Top Rank, aside from not fighting Crawford, he wasn't fighting Danny Garcia, Broner and stuff. And then miraculously, when he signs with PBC and Al Heyman, the Broner fight is his first fight. Then Keith Thurman, a young, fresh guy, which is, you know, much better than the Chris Algieri, Jesse Vargas, Tim Bradley 3 and stuff that Top Rank was feeding to Pacquiao at that point in his career, the second half of his career. So I think Pacquiao really resurrected himself with his 2019 because it made, I don't know, it's just a fun year for Pacquiao. He did some trash talking with Broner and, you know, sold the fight, which is a side we don't always get to see of Pacquiao. He was, you know, taunting. He said, "Oh yes, Adrian Broner, he is fast with his mouth." Like, you know, he was like joking and roasting. I was like, okay, you know, I'd never really seen that side of Pacquiao so much when he was with Top Rank. And then obviously the Keith Thurman win was very solid. They consolidated the WBA belts, proved who's the WBA super champion. It was a great fight. I wouldn't mind a rematch. That's how good of a fight it is. So again, the odd man out in this equation is Terence Crawford. Not sure what he would do, but he definitely deserves to be on the list. But unfortunately, if he can't get the mega fights that he wants with the PBC guys, then I think all those guys are going to keep building their brands by fighting each other, and he's going to be the odd man out. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, not allowed to play in any reindeer games. And that's just what I see and what it is. But very solid top 5. Let me know what you guys think of the Ring Magazine top 5. I really just agree with the list. I think it's a great order. And the good thing about the welterweights is outside of Crawford fighting the PBC guys, the other guys have been fighting over the last couple of years. So we get to sift through and see what's what. Like Keith Thurman already beat Sean Porter and already beat Danny. Then he lost to Pacquiao, you know. So hopefully we get Errol Spence versus Danny, Errol Spence versus Pacquiao, Errol Spence, Sean Porter 2, you know, Keith Thurman, Porter 2, you know, anything like that. But very solid list. Let me know what you guys think. A lot going on, but it's very clear from this welterweight picture and the way people outside of PBC are even ranking it that Al Heyman has the welterweight division on lock. And I also think another issue for Crawford is this. He can't even move up to 54 because when it comes to 54, Al Heyman has that division on lock too with all the best fighters. Swift Jared Hurd, Edislandi Lara, Julian J. Rock Williams about to fight this month against Rosario. And then he also has the infamous Jermell Charlo. So even if Crawford wanted to move to 54, I don't really see the blockbuster options without going to Al Heyman. So PBC, you know, they've done a great job of marketing the American fighter, black American fighters as well, American fighters in general, and they've done the best job with that. So now there's contemporaries that they all make for action fights. You can mix any of these guys, even if you subtract Crawford, who's not aligned with Al Heyman, any of these fights, you can round robin them and they're great. Errol Spence versus Pacquiao, Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman, Errol Spence Porter Part 2, you know, Porter versus Thurman Part 2, Porter versus Manny Pacquiao, Porter versus Spence 2, you know, no matter how you slice it, Pacquiao Thurman 2, Pacquiao Spence, Pacquiao Porter, you know, no matter how you rat, and then you throw Danny Garcia's name, who's really the sixth man, you know, like Kadeem Hardison, he's the sixth man, then it becomes more interesting. Errol versus Danny, Sean Porter, Danny Part 2, Keith Thurman, Danny Part 2, Manny Pacquiao versus Danny, you know. So we have to see how it figures out and fits in with Bob Arum and Al Heyman, but again, he got it on lock. Shout out to the top 5 welterweights and the top 6, in my opinion. Danny Garcia, Very interesting times, 2020. The year's just started. Can't wait to see what matches they come up with. If you love what I'm doing, smash the like button. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.